Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 15th, and right now we are looking at the infrared/visible satellite imagery here. You can see, if you look closely, this is that Arctic air riding over the top of this ridge here. It's going to move down across the Yukon in towards British Columbia, mainly east of the Rockies here, but it is going to try to interact with us here in western Washington, Oregon, southwest BC. How much of it will get out here, we don't know quite yet, but the trend is not our friend, folks. For snow lover, it is not looking that good as things continue to back up over the last couple of days, but we'll take a close look at it here in a moment. Now, looking at the visible satellite imagery, you can see some high clouds moving across the region, some low clouds locked into places like eastern Washington, Oregon. Willamette Valley here should burn off some this afternoon here, maybe a nice sunset here with the high clouds moving across the region. If you look closely, you can see these wave clouds moving across British Columbia here in the North Flow, including Montana shown there. Nice snow cover out there as well, and the GO 17 satellite imagery shown here. Taking a look here, you can see that blizzard conditions moving across some of the North Dakota area there towards Minnesota, some winter conditions across the northeast, some severe weather out there for Florida. Heads up if you're traveling down there. You can see some pretty chilly weather here across central California. Some freeze warnings are in effect here. Not much going on currently here across Pacific Northwest. Taking a look at this, freezing fog advisory for some portions as of this morning. These might have expired, but always good driving tips here. Never leave your high beams on. Great graphics here from the National Weather Service Spokane. This is for Montana out here, prolonged cold. They think right now they're still even kind of on the borderline out there with how much Arctic air is going to get into western Montana even there as well. But heads up there for some potential major impacts. National Weather Service, Missoula, Montana, nice graphic here. Now this is looking at the NAM 3KM. This is winds coming up for the next few days here. You can see the offshore flow coming through the gorge here, Stampede Gap, Fraser River Valley here. Should bring some nice sunshine across the area as we go through today on into tomorrow. Through Friday afternoon, we start to wane a bit here as we start to then bring some Arctic air close to the region here. You can see this northwest winds coming down here, but that's when the NAM 3KM ends here. So we are not into short range, high resolution model territory just yet. I like to look at this occasionally too. This is the HER 3KM visibility in miles. If you look closely, you can see southwest BC, western Washington, Willamette Valley with some low clouds, eastern Washington, Oregon as well. It does burn off mostly this afternoon, but not completely east of the mountains there. It is pretty chilly out there, tough to burn off all those low clouds. Put that into motion, and the main takeaway from this is we should be pretty nice here through Friday afternoon into Friday evening here across the region. Some nice sunshine, maybe a couple of nice sunsets tonight into tomorrow night, but you can see those low clouds kind of stubborn to burn off there through portions of eastern Washington. Some high clouds as the next system starts to approach as Arctic air tries to move down into BC and tries to get down towards Pacific Northwest here. So taking a look at the most recent European run here on the left, 4 a.m. versus yesterday's 4 p.m. European run. Look at what changes are coming here in each individual model run. We put this into motion. Again, the confidence has always been high for the Arctic air into BC. How it interacts west of the Cascades has always been the question. And you can see clearly on this morning's run, the cold air is not as robust coming off the continent and wrapping back into western Washington and Oregon, shown here on yesterday afternoon's run. Put that into motion a little bit more here, and a very important difference. This looked like a fairly dynamic snowfall possible for Seattle with this system here, but it comes in too far north right there, and you can see it was much further south of this cold air at 5,000 feet, and the system would develop along this boundary here and move into western Washington. That does not seem to be the case on this morning's run, as these models have been inching back with this Arctic air getting down west of the Cascades. Now, taking a look here at the GFS. It's kind of been onto something here over the past few days, and we like to bash the GFS sometimes, but really it's kind of been on to this Arctic air, not really coming into the region that robustly. It does show some coming off the continent here, but just a brief hit of it there, and then you can see the GFS warm up as we go through midweek coming up here. So kudos to the GFS for really not fully biting on this Arctic air over the last few days here, and that's where the models seem to be trending right now. Now looking at the European, this is hot off the press here, the polar lobe dropping down versus the European yesterday afternoons. You'll notice this lobe is a little bit deeper here and a little bit further west here on yesterday afternoons, and that's the problem here. We're not going to introduce as much Arctic air into the region with a setup such as this. This is Sunday afternoon shown there. Now let's compare the European hot off the press versus the Canadian as well. Put this into motion and you can see the Canadian just backing up even further to the east as well. So the models are not trending well with this system here, folks. So basically, big old Arctic bullet fired our way. It looks like it's going to just barely graze us here in the Pacific Northwest. And if the models back up even more, it might not even graze us. It might just fly right on by. So now taking a look here, this is the European hot off the press this morning versus yesterday afternoon's run. Now, important differences show up here in the surface pressure map and precipitation. You can see we could still get some snowfall here across some of western Washington here as we go on into Monday morning. So that needs to be watched as well. It could still drop some snowfall across the region here. We'll continue to watch that. You see the Arctic air sagging south across British Columbia there on both this morning and yesterday afternoons. We'll see how that trends though, and the confidence is still low. Then comes the next system here. You can see how this snow line is basically closer down towards North Oregon versus this deeper system forming as it moves into Vancouver Island, which would quickly warm up much of the Puget Sound. It might start it initially as snow, but would quickly warm it up. In this scenario on the right, as of yesterday afternoon, that would move in south and pretty much keep a lot of the Puget Sound in snowfall during the day, Tuesday on in through Tuesday night. But that looks like it's on the change here, folks. Now taking a look here, 10 to 1 snow ratio. So we just have to show this here coming up. There still is some snow potential as we go through Sunday night here on into Monday morning. And you see the Central Sound getting a little bit here. It's not a lot of snowfall, but it can still be disruptive. So we'll just continue to watch this day by day and see if the models continue to scale back. Keep that in motion there. That next system that comes in north drops a little bit of snowfall for some of the Puget Sound, but quickly would change that over to rain. Nice mountain snowmaker though, and still some places up into BC could get some snowfall, especially up towards the Strait of Georgia, but definitely further north in the past few days have been showing. Now looking at the GFS here, what would it say here in this recent scenario? A little bit of snowfall around the Puget Sound as we go through Sunday afternoon into Monday morning, shown here. But then it kind of brings a slug of moisture a little bit too far south here. Kind of an interesting feature there if it would spread a little further north. But really, there's not that much cold air to work with at this point. And then quickly, the GFS wants to warm us up here as we go on in through later next week. So taking a look at the European run, hot off the press here, you can see Seattle, still some cold air getting in here, but not as chilly as what was first forecast the last few days. Taking a look here, Bellingham International Airport, you can see it's going to be a little bit better the further north you go. Of course, there's a Fraser River gap up there. Some lows could get down into the 20s again up there. Seattle, Tacoma, you can kind of see the cutback here in the precipitation amounts. GFS just showing very low snowfall totals coming up here. Very few larger amounts showing up in some of the extended runs here. This is Kamloops. Good confidence for that Arctic air into BC here, but getting it west of the Cascades is a whole nother animal completely. This is looking at the drought monitor here. You can see drought removal is likely here for western Washington, so some good news there. I think we all kind of assumed that would happen though, but drought is going to persist through eastern Washington and Oregon there, so not good news there. But anyway, yeah, this is the hard part about weather forecasting, folks. It's not easy to make weather videos on days where you're taking away snowfall amounts across places like Seattle, Portland, and Southwest Vancouver here coming up. So things could still change back, but right now the trend over the last few days has slowly been taking away how much Arctic air is going to get off the continent of BC back into western Washington and Oregon. So sorry, snow lovers, but I know a lot of you guys out there don't like the snow and are kind of happy to hear this and want to keep it up in the mountains there. But anyway, we'll continue to watch this as it trends here. There's still the potential for some snowfall, just not near as much as what was showing up yesterday and especially 2 days ago in some of the model runs here. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. You know, we're going to get more chances at some snowfall at some point this winter, so we just going to have to take these shots as they come. Arctic bullet looks like it's just going to miss us here right now, as of now, on December 15th. But anyway, we'll keep watching this as we go here, and we'll monitor for any changes, especially on in through tomorrow. I'll do my full briefing then as well. So thanks to all my new members, all my new subscribers. We're getting really close to 15,000 subscribers. If you're watching this video for the first time, about 40% of the people who watch the videos are not subscribed. So go ahead and click the subscribe button if you would. Let's get us over 15,000, and let's head on to 20,000 subscribers here. Great community here across the Pacific Northwest. And yeah, so let's do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.